Hi, welcome back to another episode of the Black Box Podcast. I'm your favorite host, Makai. And yes, I'm wearing a purple bandana, but I'm not affiliated with any gangs. Today, we have some wonderful guests here and a new intern that we'd love to introduce to you all. So I'm going to let them speak.
What's going on, y'all? My name is JJxzander, also known as JJ, just for shorter. I'm an artist in the Chicago-based area, and I appreciate y'all for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
Sure.
And hi, my name is Asa Murray, and I am the muscle behind Kickback and all your favorite shows. I'm the guy that edits all that.
Well, that's not true, but Asa is one of our lovely, lovely interns here who helps with the editing. So let's just jump into this. I'm super excited to have you here today. But something I wanted to touch on first with you two is a little bit of breaking news. Apparently, Wendy Williams was released today. She was released.
I hate this man.
Like,
I
why?
don't like seeing Wendy Williams like that, bro. It just feels foul, man. Like when they did the documentary where she was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
it's like y'all could have cut the cameras off at some point.
Yeah.
Or at least edit some of that stuff out.
They did kind of do her dirty with that. But she's out. She's out now. She's
It's like,
released.
does she have somebody like in her corner that like actually cares about her and not just what's in her Chase account? Like, no funny stuff. Seriously, like, does she?
Yeah. That's kind of rough. Well, get well soon, Wendy. I hope you're doing well. Do you keep up with like talk show news or anything like
Not at all.
Nothing? What about like celebrity culture? Are you in and like what's happening with like the Oscars and like big name celebrities? Or you keep out of that?
I keep out of it.
Real. That's real. It's kind of stale these days, low key. So while we're on the topic of artists, I'm curious about like some of your artist influences. And you said that you had a few, but you have a lot. So I'm curious, like who would just to name a few if you could?
If I can name a few right now, Heavy Hurricane Wisdom is a big one. He's on a come up right now, but I've been listening to him since SoundCloud. So a lot of people, Doechii is a big one. Lil Durk, everybody is mainstream artists. We can switch it up and say like, when I was younger, I think my singing and melodic stuff comes from like Bruno Mars, Justin Timberlake, Justin Bieber,
Okay.
places like that.
Can you talk a little bit more about when you say melodic? Like, could you describe your sound a little bit? Like, what's the vibe you try to go for?
I'm rapping, but
Yeah.
I'm singing at the same time. So it's not just rap, but there's a lot of emotion in the things that I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's coming from the heart. I love that. Sorry, no, I appreciate that because I feel like sometimes with rap, the expectation is to be like flashy and talk about, and like there's a place for that, obviously, it's in hip hop and rap culture, but I always appreciate the rap that's a little more grounded and a little more connected to the truth. I think that's what makes good art is the connection to the truth and what's really happening.
Something a bit more relatable, like with Kanye and College Dropout or Drake with Thank Me Later. It's like more relatable topics, things that most people are going through, like heartbreak or dropping out of college, working at Gap, shit like that.
Have you ever worked at Gap?
No.
Okay. Just checking. Okay, well, on that same note though, like who do you make your music for? Like who is your target audience or just like, do you have a family member at home that you do it for?
Honestly, so I've been an introvert my whole life.
Yeah.
Right? And I know I'm not the only person like that. So I'm making music for everybody to have something to relate to, not just the exact thing that I'm talking about, but just that emotion as a whole. So if I'm talking about being sad, if I'm talking about overcoming it, like it's for those people.
If you had to like give us a number, like how many of your songs are about you being sad?
About being sad, maybe like 5, 6.
Okay. And how many songs do you have in total?
Well, actually nobody knows this, right?
Oh.
So out of every song that I've made in the past 5 years, I've made 300 songs.
We just got an exclusive, guys.
Wow.
Facts.
Okay.
But I take everything I do so serious and like the songs that I make. So I only have maybe 16, 15 songs out.
Oh. So you'd say like a third of your songs are about you being sad.
But like there's just so many things that like I've tried and I wouldn't say all of them are just hits, but it's definitely some stuff in there.
That's so cool.
Stuff I might forget about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, what brings you back each time? Because 300 songs is not like a small feat. Like, how do you find the motivation or just find like the inspiration to call you back to the page when you write?
So I say just like switching up my writing style every time. So for 1 year, I was writing songs and then going to the studio and then just recording them set by set. But then I realized like I can't put that same emotion out when I've already written it down. So now I make a bunch of reference tracks and then I'll try to write after the fact. And it's like that emotion is there. Now let's put words to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then once you start getting into writer's block or you get stuck, just switch it up every time.
I see. So you like kind of like you make it in the moment and you find that thing that like you have that initial connection to, and then you make like just like whatever, like kind of like a brainstorm, just like music, beats, samples, clips, and then you come back to it and try to like collide it all together into something cohesive. Yeah, I like that. I think that's something a lot of artists do in my experience is like just get it out, like getting like you said about writer's block, like getting so stuck in, oh, like it's not going to be good, it's not going to be this, not going to be that, it's pointless,
Yeah, because somebody else might think it's good.
Exactly, or like somebody else might take it. A lot of the times artists too will talk about this experience of like a song coming to them, and if they sat on it for too long, then they knew somebody else would come up with that.
Yeah, and I think that's the hardest part with me because I know what I want out. But at the same time, there might be things where like, or songs where I might not like it, but somebody else might think it's fire. But
Right.
they'll never know because I'm just like, nah, we're just gonna wait, that one not good enough. Me and Charles talk about that all the time. So I think he's been helping me just kind of stay a little more free and just open-minded to the songs that I make. But I can't make no promises,
Okay, well, were you going to say something, Asa?
I was about to say this. So, since you're an independent artist, right? So, have you been getting like any deals or looks from like major labels like Universal?
Yeah. I'm not gonna talk about it too much, but it's definitely some stuff in the works.
All right, who's looking at you?
Well, you just said you can't talk about it.
No. Oh, right. Okay.
I am curious about this idea of like a cosign or some kind of like major approval. One of the topics we had today was Doechii basically getting like her cosign from Lauryn Hill. It wasn't really like a label thing or anything, but she popped out at like a performance basically. And I'm just curious what you think about like veterans kind of cosigning new talent. Do you think it's necessary? What do you
I think
feel
it's
about
necessary because a lot of places, like a lot of different labels, they're all just one main unit.
Yeah.
So when you have a major artist like co-signing for somebody smaller, you pretty much are still doing it independently. That's just somebody that believed in you. You know what I mean?
Can you talk a little bit more about that? What do you mean?
There's not a lot of people that. So basically, in the industry, there's a lot of issues with people just needing help or not having access to that thing.
Yeah.
So when you have a major artist pretty much not going against, but going against a major record label, that is them co-signing for you. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people are amazing and have great music, but will never be heard because they might not have the money for a label.
Or the attention. Or...
Exactly. So when you have a major artist that'll sit there and be like, hey, I like your sound, and it's about your sound and not about money and not about anything else that comes after that, is a blessing.
Have you had any cosigns by any major artists?
No.
Okay. Well, hey, you're getting co-signed by the Kickback Shy. So thank you.
Yeah, and also to speak to cosigns, like I feel like now it doesn't really matter as much.
Really?
Because we already knew who Doechii was. Whereas like with Kanye, nobody really knew him prior to like Jay essentially letting him rap on one of his songs on the Blueprint 2, The Bounce. Listen to that. But nobody knew who Ye was. Nobody really knew of him. May have heard of him like as a producer, but you didn't know who he was until Jay-Z helped put him on. Same with J. Cole. Same with even Drake with Lil Wayne. Nobody really knew about Drake until Best I Ever Had and when he got signed to Young Money.
Yeah, I think part of what I'm hearing from both of these kind of examples is like you definitely have to be doing the groundwork. Like I think that's kind of obvious for any artist. Like you have to be putting in the hours, but once and I think especially in the case of Doechii specifically of like because she was putting in the work and we did like kind of know I knew who she was at least or was familiar with her work. But I think the cosign is kind of like the cherry on top. It's like the it's like you've made it.
It doesn't push them out anymore.
Right. You know what I mean? It's like you're at my level, you've made it. And I think that can be very validating and very important for younger artists and newer artists too. How do you stay relevant as an artist? Like, what are you doing to keep your name in people's faces, people's mouths? Like, how do you stay relevant?
I say just like social media, taking social media serious. There's like a handful of ways, but I think it's different for everybody because everybody stands out in a different way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it could be social media, it could be events that you go to, it could be the music that you drop, it could be sitting on podcasts and talking to new people, you know?
I'm curious about, you said events. It just sparked something in my head. Like what is that like being a musician and like having to like find a venue, book a venue, perform at a show, you know, you get, I'm making it up because I have some friends back home in Virginia. Shout out it's lunch special. Some friends at home who have like had to like hit the pavement looking for, you know, bars that'll let them perform. And then you know,
even like doing feature runs.
Or doing like a feature run. And then you get your friend to do like the art design, the graphic design for the Instagram caption, then you repost it on your page. Like, what does that experience, that process look like of like finding it all and putting it all together for an event for you?
For me, so at first it was a lot more difficult because I was doing it by myself. Shout out my team. Now we have a team that I'll just have meetings and they'll be like, hey, these are the events that we found, or like these people reached out, let's talk to them about this, how do you feel about it? So that works like that, but it's more so just about the people you know. If you don't have that team, that's okay, but it's more so about just the people you know, but you can't just stop as a whole because it's very frustrating trying to find events and doing all that by yourself, but you have to start there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I feel that. But sticking on this like people you know thing, I think something that I'm approaching right now as I'm finishing up my master's program, master's in acting, thank you, is the people you know sometimes aren't, let me choose my words carefully.
Don't get jumped.
Sometimes the people you know aren't the people you need to know.
Right.
And I think that it's difficult sometimes to put yourself in the right rooms when you don't know who's right for you. And something that I'm curious about, and I'd love to hear both of your thoughts on, is like what do you do to cultivate a team or cultivate like that kind of collaborative atmosphere with people you can trust and work with?
It's really just about finding like-minded people.
Yeah.
So just like same way you make friends, if y'all got the same interests, and you see that things just start to flow when you guys are together, that could probably be a friend of yours.
Do you think you would say you're like friends with most of your collaborators? Or
100%.
Okay.
Yes, 100%.
Okay. I'm getting the wrap it up finger. I thought that was a lot of juicy stuff, and I think we're just going to cut it there. It's a good place to stop. Anyway, JJ, I'm very curious about your journey here in Chicago. And you said you're from, well, I'm not going to shout out where you're from, but I don't know why I said that. I'm just curious, like, what your experience was like growing up in Chicago, first of all. Like, what were you doing when you were younger? Were there any traditions or any, like what do you, I'm not from Chicago, so I'm
right.
Not sure what you do here.
So I'm on, like, outside of Chicago, right? I had both my parents. I went to a good school. I say I was just real quiet. I was just a quiet kid. And I had friends, but I didn't have friends at the same time. So it was like people just knew me, but I wasn't kicking it with everybody.
Real. Did you sit alone at lunch?
Nah.
Okay.
I at least was with like one or two people.
Okay.
I was never by myself though.
I sat alone at lunch a few times because I gotta defend myself. Hold on, I was in honors classes, and my friends were in IB, and I was in IB as well, but I dropped out because I wanted to be an artist. And they had all the IB classes, and we never could meet up, so I was always alone at lunch. But I did get most talented for my high school superlative.
I sat alone at lunch during my senior year just because I stopped with a lot of those individuals, you know, especially towards the end. Because at that point, I just want to graduate. Just hand me my diploma, man.
Look,
just wrap it up.
Just wrap it up. So just a little factoid just for you guys at home. The DOE has fired over half of their workforce, Department of Education. That is very bad. Means a lot of people are out of work, and a lot of like government-supported educational systems aren't going to have the funding that they need to run these programs. I'm curious, what is your take? What is your take on education?
My take?
No, I'm
go ahead.
our guest take on education.
I'm about to fry you
On
up.
education?
Yeah, what do you think about
As
all this?
far as, like, because I don't know too much about what's going on.
No, do you think education is important? Do you think we should be spending funds on it, or?
I think education is very important until it gets up to college. I think college should always be a choice. You shouldn't make anybody go to college.
I agree, actually.
And a lot of the jobs now that you needed to go to school for, you don't anymore. And it's like that for a reason, because if it was still like that, it would be working. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it should just be a choice when you get to college. But high school builds character, gen eds, all of that is important. You should know how to count and how to read and write and more.
I think education is very important, and I think that we should be very worried about this change. I mean, if my student loans get cut, I don't give a freak, excuse me. So that's just how I feel about it personally.
Well, me personally, I got grants, I got scholarships because I am, you know, smart. You know, despite what this guy says, I do have something up here. It works, but in terms of the Department of Education, I can't speak to that on a federal level. But here in Chicago, like the Chicago Public Schools, people say that it's the funding. I don't even think it's the funding. I think it's where the money is going, because there could be like a $200 million budget, but like $50 million that just comes up missing, and like people are getting arrested for that. It's like, what the are y'all doing with the money? Like how does this make sense?
You think people are grifting the money? They're like taking it?
Yes, because
really?
With that many hands in the pot, someone's gonna take it at some point.
Yeah. You can't even trust your own teachers.
We're not talking about teachers. We're talking about like the higher ups above the teachers.
Oh, admin.
Yeah.
Hey, so does that mean that you support the what's going on in the administration right now when it comes to like taking money away from education?
No.
Are you saying you support that?
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, okay, I don't support taking the money away from education. However, there is a lot of corruption, and I feel like we, as a society in America, should update our education system to fit with the times.
And you're saying fix corruption by taking money away from education?
You're putting words in my mouth.
Oh.
So what are you saying? Can you break it down a little bit for us?
Is
so messy.
Starting shit. What I'm saying is
no, just break it down because I'm trying to understand the purpose. Are you fixing corruption? And does fixing corruption requires the defunding of the education department?
No, it does not require that. However, we should investigate certain things. We should do audits. We
Absolutely.
should, maybe remove some of these higher ups.
There's a whole audit system in the government already that does what they're doing.
Well, we need to keep doing it. We need to really evaluate where this money is going, and is it helping the kids? Is this something that we need for the kids? Is it something that the kids need? Me personally, I believe that the feds should get out of like education and just be like an overseer and let the states or even cities run that, because a one-size-fits-all model wouldn't really work for the whole United States, because different cities, different places require different things.
JJ, what is your favorite state in the United States?
You want to skip over my question? What I just
Well,
said?
no, I loved what you said. I was so enraptured. I was just moving.
You were
on.
making faces, so speak up.
No, I loved what you said, and I was an active listener.
Speak up.
This is me speaking up and speaking to the next topic. JJ. There was a very big conversation on TikTok about Ice Spice's tour, and the artist that was on that tour with her was Cleo Trappa. Thank you. Cleo Trappa talked a little bit about like the chaos that comes with touring and like the bus and the people and the luggage and all of that. And I'm just curious, like what was touring like for you in that way? Like, can you talk a little more about the actual like day to day, if you could? Or
I think so. There was a lot of meetings, and there was just a lot of things that I'm not used to. So I'm so used to doing everything by myself. I actually ended up buying my own plane tickets.
Oh, yeah.
And
you flew. You flew.
Yeah, I flew.
Wow.
And comes to find out that like the dates change or like things that I didn't know about. So now I got plane tickets that I can't cancel anymore.
Yeah.
And they were the ones that were actually going to do it in the first place. But I'm just trying to be proactive. You know, it's certain things that I'm just not used to being done for me.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be the hardest part about just like industry as a whole.
Is like getting catered to instead of having to do the whole
Exactly.
Or even like the hurry up and wait type of.
Yeah, it's more so about just like relying on somebody else. Not saying that they don't do their job, but it's just something that I'm not used to.
Because you're expecting them to fuck up, basically.
No, because I'm just used to doing it by myself.
I feel that.
So I'm just speaking for myself then.
I think so. Well, I agree with this. And I think it's also like that balance too of like, you know, taking your hands off it. It's not, you know, it's not my job to do the marketing, not my job to do the hotel and booking, but like you as the artist kind of, at least for me, and maybe it's not anxiety, but you have that personal accountability and you want things done and you want to make sure it's settled and set. And sometimes that requires you to be more proactive. So I feel that
exactly
the struggle between the two.
Even outside of just touring, but like just music as a whole.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Makai, you sing or rap?
I do both, actually, yeah.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
You freestyle for us today?
No.
Can you sing for us?
No.
A little high note?
Mm-mm. So Iowa Debris called out Elon Musk for basically co-signing a fan cast of what was it was Pirates of the Caribbean. Elon Musk had basically made up there was a claim made up that Iowa Debris was going to be replacing Johnny Depp in Pirates of the Caribbean, and Elon Musk basically like retweeted this fake article being like, this sucks. And Iowa Debris got a bunch of backlash from all of this. And I'm curious about what you think a politician's place is in the arts.
In arts?
Politicians should have any place in the arts or in media, like entertainment media?
I say no.
Okay.
I don't have an exact reason why, but I feel like they're just two different lanes, and sometimes two lanes don't always have to mix. You know what I mean? Because I'm not a big politics person, but I do know that a lot of it is corrupt.
Yeah.
And same thing in the music industry. A lot of things are corrupt.
Oh, yeah.
So I think some things might just be better off by themselves.
Real.
Well, my opinion on this, and I'm looking at the story right now, apparently she got like death threats. Now,
yep,
that's wild. Like
off a fake fan cast. Yeah,
that's some wild shit. But arts and politics, just like arts and sports, have been somewhat, I guess you could say, intertwined.
Wait, really? Arts and sport?
Yeah, at least music and sports.
Oh, I mean, well, yeah, music, obviously.
But arts and politics have been kind of intertwined, especially over the last 8 years.
Oh, definitely. I mean, art is political in nature, but I also think that...
And even certain politicians have co-signed certain artists, certain musical artists. Like, I think Obama said that he listened to Jay-Z when he was in Oval Office, so
I think
it's not surprising.
It's a very delicate balance. I think we're in an era now where politicians feel so bold to comment on artists and have that be I don't know. They're
social media.
Well, that too, but it's there's just, as a politician, you have a larger control over the people that you're governing. Like artists should be accountable for themselves and the work that they create and the work that they're doing, and they don't need that cosign. I think. JJ, I'm curious your thoughts about this too. How do you feel about what do you have to say to the balance of independent artist with a grassroots sort of message, you know, backed by their own power, versus like the artist who wants to get that corporate or like governmental backing, I guess you could even say. Not governmental, but you know what I mean, like federal, like, you know what I mean, like the backing of like major political powers, because some artists do have like political backing. Like, what do you think about that? Like, should artists try to maintain their independence, or?
I think you should always try to maintain your independence first, but I think it varies between what type of artist you are and your situation. You might have the funding to be able to do it by yourself, or you might have the people to be able to do it with a label. So I think it really just varies off of your situation.
So you wouldn't call somebody who signed with the label, you wouldn't call them like a sellout. You wouldn't say that.
But they probably do have to water the music down to a certain degree, just so that way y'all can with it.
Not necessarily.
I mean, to a certain degree, yeah. Because if you listen to like, okay, side note, Drake's one of my favorite artists. But if you listen to So Far Gone and you compare it to Thank Me Later, you can tell just by hearing it that there's a budget increase, but you can also tell that he probably has to water certain things down just to get it out there. So that way people know him, see his face, and then he can do whatever later on.
Can you talk a little bit more about that? Like, why is Drake your favorite artist? Like, what did that budget increase sound like? I'm just curious.
Just saying, like, budget increase in terms of like different producers, like.
Okay.
And also, fun fact, if I'm not mistaken, don't quote me on this, but Drake and 40 recorded So Far Gone in a hotel room.
So JJ, I'm very.
What the fuck? Why y'all looking at me like that? Y'all don't listen to Drake? Y'all grew up off that. Y'all all.
Drake is a great artist. I don't listen to him like that.
Guy, right?
I think that there was an era where I listened to Drake.
Hold on, wait. No, we're not gonna get past that. This ain't Remind, my guy. No. So, are you one of those not like us people?
I actually kind of sat this whole Drake-Kendrick beef out, to be honest.
You sure?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I kind of did. JJ, this is such a mess. It's a mess. I want to know right now, who are your top 5 artists of all time, rappers of all time? Like, who is going up there in the goated list?
I don't care what nobody say. Lil Durk is up there.
Okay.
Right? He has hit almost every aspect of music, from drill to country.
Even the love song?
Even the love songs.
A little listen then.
And I think that gets overlooked because he's just from Chicago, drill music, you know? But if you're a real Lil Durk fan, you know.
So what do you guys feel about Shrek 5? Shrek 5 is coming out. How do you guys feel about
Shrek 5?
Shrek?
Oh, Shrek. Okay. Shrek 5. Wow.
Yeah, there's a new Shrek coming. And apparently Zendaya is set to be a part of it. What do you guys think about that? Were you like a big Shrek person?
I'm a big, like, well, that's not even Disney, but I'm pretty sure that's Dreamcast, right?
Yeah, DreamWorks.
All right, DreamWorks. I mean, there's been so many of them. Why not? Throwing those.
Why not? Hey, so what do you think about Shrek 5?
Wow, I've not seen Shrek since I was a little kid, so I might have to catch up.
Littler? Littler?
Oh, wow. You talking shit?
I'm so excited about Shrek 5.
Look at what he's wearing.
Look at what he's wearing.
You look like you're from Virginia, bro.
I am from Virginia, and you look like you just came off a missionary trip. So, anyway, I'm excited about Shrek 5 because I think it's going to be an exciting romp. Anyway, that's all the time we have for this segment. We're going to call it there, and we'll get back to you in another episode. Bye.